Sunny ways, my friends. Sunny ways.
Your 16 seconds are up. I'm going to ask you again because nobody believes you when you say you don't know how much money your family has got from the wheat group. You had a month to look into that. You knew you were going to testify here. Again, how much money total have your brother, mother, and spouse received from this organization? How much?
That information has been publicly shared. I will highlight.
Well, then tell me what it is.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles, sort of thing. Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
Where's the funds?
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean? Oh, Justin, you're awake. You made it. Have a seat. Have a coffee. You need some. Wakey time.
Let's cut that Disney Plus subscription. So we cut it. It's only $13.99 a month that we're saving, but every little bit helps.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
You must know somebody. Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off, yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here. Knockout!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Welcome to Friday Night Fringe here on our live stream show. I hope you've all had a fantastic week as you pile in for yet another Friday night stream. Boy, what a week it's been. I've seen people in the chat talking about 3 new scandals. Yes, there are new scandals. I'm going to get into some of those tonight, as well as mostly over the weekend. I've got some content rolling out for you guys in regards to those scandals, and I'm looking forward to sharing that information with you guys, or at least my takes on that information later this weekend. How's everybody doing? How about that quartering interview that dropped today? Did you guys catch that? Did you guys get in to see little Jeremy Hambley stopping by to have a chat with a good old Fringe? It was fantastic to have him around. And again, I thank him for popping in. I thank him for his help and assistance as well outside of making these videos. He's definitely a great source to chat with and hear from. This is a guy who clearly understands social media. And boy, what an interview it was. It was amazing to sit down with him. If you guys haven't caught the video, and I know a lot of people haven't because of good old YouTube and their lovely suppression, go check it out, please. I don't know what happened this morning, but YouTube, I guess, because we spent a good portion of the time talking about YouTube in that video, they just did not want it getting out. They just refused. If you didn't leave a like or a comment in there, make sure to drop in, leave one. It helps push it out. It helps get it out there. I also had people yelling at me today saying I don't talk in the comments or answer just them specifically in the comments. Guys, there are usually hundreds of comments left on videos. I try to get in there as much as I can. If I don't reply to you, just know that I do try to check as many of those comments as possible. And I'm not always around. I'm running technically 3 channels on YouTube. I don't have time to answer every single person, but just know that if you leave a comment, if you're leaving likes on the videos, I do appreciate you. And I do see you. So thank you for doing that, everybody. Let's start tonight's stream off on a high note. Let's get everybody chiming in with a good old-fashioned roll call. Let's see if we can get somebody from every province in the country in this stream. 115 amazing Fringers hanging out with us in the stream tonight. Drop that in. Again, I'm going to try to get everybody I can. Hopefully no Wackos joining us in the chat tonight, but let's try to get everybody out. Let me know if you're new to the stream or if you're watching for multiple weeks or months or years as it goes with some people. Let's get it started. Again, if I don't get to everybody, my apologies. Good old Tammy joining us once again from Elliott Lake, Ontario. Princess Thickness coming in from Montreal, Quebec. Welcome in. It's great to see you here. Alice coming in from Midland, Ontario. We got Roadrunner coming in from BC. We've got I Am Canadian coming in from New Brunswick. Blackface on a Castro coming in from good old Windsor, Nova Scotia. We've got Trudy Mick coming in from BC. How are you guys doing? Welcome in. We got Little Milky coming in from Hamilton, Ontario. Patty coming in from Ontario. We got Monica coming in from Ontario. Man, a lot of people in from Ontario. Maybe I got to start streaming a little earlier, should we? I mean, non-compliant Canadian coming in from Eastern Ontario. Whatever happened to the term treason or traitor? It's like it doesn't even matter or exist anymore. We're going to get into that tonight. We've got No Show 20 coming in from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Got some news to share about Winnipeg, actually, as soon as we're done with this roll call. We've got Diana Lockie coming in from Alberta, Medicine Hat. Welcome in. It's great to see you here. 20 minutes north of Calgary. Hello from Airdrie. Well, I don't know if that's 20 minutes north of Calgary, specifically if you're talking Airdrie. Airdrie is actually almost on its way to being annexed into Calgary in the next little while. But welcome into the stream. It's great to see you. We've got Eileen coming in from Sylvan Lake. There used to be an old joke. What do you call a girl with one wooden leg? Eileen. Oh, Ringo gets it. That's an old Beatles joke. We got Tammy Robinson, I'm sorry, coming in from Perth, Ontario. We got Hillbilly coming in from California, hanging around with Gavin Newsom. Welcome into the stream. It's great to have you in here. Montreal. No, we're cheering for Edmonton. I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen. We're calling out Edmonton. Montreal's great. We're cheering on the Oilers now. Concussed coming in from Drumheller. Welcome into the stream. EMC coming in from Vancouver. We got Ma Bernard coming in from Berta. Barra? Is that Barra? I thought that said Berta. My bad. Welcome into the stream. Irish Mist coming in from Gulf, Ontario. Sorry, my bad. CB coming in from Maple Ridge. We got Gina coming in from Saskatchewan. Joe Lyman representing Red Deer, as always. Joe hanging out in the chat. Great to see you here. Welcome in. We got Mystical coming in from Calgary. Tammy's been watching near a year now. I feel so sorry for you, but thank you for watching all of the content and listening to little old me ramble for almost a year now. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your support and being here. Frank saying, I'm a wacko, but the good type. Is there a good type? I don't know. There's only one person I can see with the name wacko being associated with them these days. We've got Janice coming in from Ontario. I'm a target coming in from Calgary. We've got David coming in from Springfield, Missouri. Welcome into the stream, everybody. Concussed is formerly of California. Oh, good. You got away from Gavin Newsom. That's a good thing. We've got Dorothy coming in from Ontario. Alice coming in. Sorry. I thought that was Alice chiming in from where she's watching. My bad. But welcome in, Alice. We've got Keith coming in from Toronto. Carson coming in from Slave Lake, Alberta. Man, got a lot of guys from Alberta and Toronto, or Ontario, tonight. Dustin St. Albert. Great to have you in the stream. We've got Brian coming in, PEI East Coast. Welcome in as well. We've got Barrett coming in from London, Ontario. Tammy coming in. Stephanie Kusi outed yesterday. She was a victim of a Chinese hacker. I know. And I'm going to cover that stuff. We're going to get into that. A lot of that's blowing up a lot lately. Just insane. We got Mike Freedom Honey coming in from Beaver County, Alberta. Welcome back into the stream. It's great to see you here. We got Daphne coming in from Calgary. Why would BoobTube not show me this stream today? They haven't been showing anybody anything. Again, if you go back and look at the interview that launched this morning with the quartering, man, did that video get squashed. It just got completely... Look, I don't like to usually talk business on the channel. I don't like to talk money or any of that stuff, but it's really disheartening to me when you put in the work. I've been trying to get Jeremy on this channel for a long time. This is a guy with over 1 million subscribers. Very prominent YouTuber. And I really valued his opinion. I thought it was a great interview. Everybody who chimed in on the comments seemed to like that interview. So it just really sucks when you go to the extent to get that stuff together. And this isn't a whine fest. It's just me pointing out that YouTube seems to just pick and choose when somebody's going to get any kind of push on the platform. And I know as we talk in that video, especially with Jeremy pushes platforms like Rumble. He pushes new tech all the time. I understand when people say go to Rumble, but you can't just pack up and leave 30,000 subscribers behind. It's very difficult. I'm probably going to start mirroring on Rumble and doing like lives on Rumble, like simulcast, something to that extent, and not because of money, not because of anything more than just getting out there, getting the message. Because again, it really sucks when you put that work together and nobody's able to see it because YouTube decides, well, you talk negatively about us, we don't want it getting out there. So if you guys haven't checked out that interview yet, go check it out. That's going to wrap up the roll call, ladies and gents, because we got to get onto the stream. There's a lot to talk about tonight. And again, I thank everybody for coming into the stream tonight, everybody who's hanging out here. Quick announcement, next Friday, there will be no live stream because not only is it a long weekend, but I'm going to be out of town. I'm actually speaking at an engagement in Winnipeg, and I will also be attending a kind of like a high schoolish reunion. So unfortunately, because I'm going to be out of town, I won't have the time to sit down for a live stream. I was thinking about doing a makeup stream on Sunday, but again, it's May long weekend. A lot of people are going to be outside doing some things. So we'll just take a break for a week, I think, and pick up later. We'll we'll try to make up for that. And I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, because I like to try and keep to the weekly schedule if we can. Long weekends are always tough, especially the first one, because everybody's just so happy to go and get outside, get some fresh air. Infectious coming in with a $2 super chat. You rock. Keep up with the good fight. I appreciate that. Again, I don't push for super chats. I appreciate any support the channel gets. And again, I don't talk about money on the channel, so thank you for that. Daphne Divine gifting 5 subs or 5 memberships to the channel. Daphne, wow, thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm speechless. I'm flattered. That's amazing. I appreciate you. Thank you. That's amazing. What a way to kick off the night. Happy Friday. Part of Friday wasn't happy, and one thing I want to mention tonight that I do want to talk about. Everybody's heard about it. Everybody knows. If you're around social media, if you're anywhere else, close friend Rex Murphy passed away at the age of 77 to cancer. And I'm going to say something that's going to be a little judgmental here. I understand people acknowledge the passing of an icon like Rex Murphy. Now, I was fortunate to I've only spoke with Rex Murphy once at a time when I was speaking with a former government official who brought him in on a call to talk to me about how the prime minister stole freedom. And this man, I had read his articles for ages. I was a fan of his work. The wisdom he shared with me and even though his presence was only felt over a phone line, the presence that he pushed forward, it was one of the greatest moments of my life to talk to somebody on his level next to Dr. Jordan Peterson, next to Pierre Poilievre. The last 2 years of my life have been an incredible ride. And I was very blessed to have Rex Murphy be a part of that and be a memory that I will never forget. That being said, I'm happy to see everybody on social media showing their condolences. I'm happy to see everybody on X that knew him, Eva Chipiak, Tamara, all these great people posting photos and experiences with Rex. And I'm not saying that you're not allowed to grieve or you're not allowed to do things, but it really kind of gets my goat. I'm going to pull a Peter Griffin here and say, oh, you know what really grinds my gears? I'm going to tell you. Whenever I see YouTubers posting videos that don't know somebody, that, again, they want to share the news. I'm not poo-pooing on that. But when you do it to get views and make money, I have an issue with that because you're essentially using the death of an icon to pad your pockets. That's just a personal gripe. I'm not faulting anybody who does it. I'm not saying that they're jerks or they're terrible people. I'm saying that me personally, it gets under my skin. That's why I'm announcing it on the live stream. We're just talking about it very quickly because I'm not going to exploit Rex Murphy for clicks and views. I'm not going to put out a very quick, cheap video to capitalize off the death of an icon. Now, that's my standards. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to put anybody out there. I'm not going to say anything. In fact, there's probably YouTubers that have put out videos that I'm not even aware of. So please don't think that I'm attacking anybody when I say this. I'm just saying that I think it's a cheap move to talk about somebody like you knew them when it's a very simple announcement like this, that, hey, a guy passed away. It's unfortunate. The guy was a legend. He was an icon. His work was admired by hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And he'll be missed. Amazing man, left a huge impact on the world. I can see a lot of people saying mixed things, that, you know, they knew they had good thoughts of Rex, bad thoughts of Rex. I get it. You know, at one point he was a part of the Liberal Party. I understand when it comes to politics, people have their feelings. I think that so Mystical's chimed in perfectly here. Perfectly. I kind of felt the same way when Norm McDonald passed away. Norm was a distant relative of mine. Well, first, I'm sorry for your loss. But Norm, again, it's okay to say Norm was a legend. Norm, he was one of the funniest comedians next to Bob Saget that I cherished in the comedy world. But when you put out videos, I think the only time I ever put out a video in my entire YouTube career about the passing of somebody was when I first started out on YouTube and Kevin Conroy passed away. And if you don't know who Kevin Conroy was, he was the voice of Batman for the 90s animated Batman series. Him and Mark Hamill, two iconic voices. Mark Hamill, as much as I hate his grifting on Joe Biden, as much as I hate his politics, this man was my childhood, because not only was he Luke Skywalker, he voiced the good old Joker. And I thought he did a great job. In fact, it's part of the reason we named my daughter Harley Quinn. I am a big fan of Batman the Animated Series. So when Kevin Conroy passed away, I simply put out a video saying it's a shame he passed away. And in hindsight, when that video was done, I said, you know, I'm growing my YouTube channel. I wasn't monetized at the time that I put that video out. And that was the only saving grace I found to putting it out, was that I'm not using it to make money, but it was exploiting views. And I said, I should probably pull it. And afterwards, I believe I did pull the video, simply because I don't think it's fair to treat your viewers as a source of exploitation while banking on the death of somebody else. So I kind of learned the lesson at that time. And again, I'm not faulting anybody who does. People have their reasons. I just am one of those people that says, if you're doing it for nefarious reasons, to make money or to get your views out there, or to chime in on something that's trending, I don't agree with it. If you don't agree with my opinion, that's okay too, because that's why we're all here. That's why we're all part of a community. We have the ability to disagree and have discourse, which is the only way things move forward in society. So again, I'm not going to blame anybody who feels opposite of how I feel, but I'm certainly not going to apologize for having that approach. I just think it's kind of like the buzzards circling. You know what I mean? Like they're waiting for or like one of those movies when you see the guys in the Old West have a street duel. And as soon as the guy's dead, they're all pulling his clothes off and his gun and his, you know what I mean? Like getting all of his stuff that's worth money. It just, to me, feels like you're looting a corpse. I don't agree with it. That said, let's move on, because like I said, it's a tragedy. Rest in peace, Rex Murphy. Wonderful man, at least the experience I had talking with him. I was hoping to get him on the show at one point, and I actually had no idea he was struggling with cancer. But dead at the age of 77, and it's a huge loss. But let's move on to happier, or at least less negative topics over death, shall we? Let's move on. Let's do something funny, shall we? Let's wipe the sadness away with something funny. Let's do our Wacko of the Week. I think that's what we're going to start calling this segment, Wacko of the Week. And what better way to kick it off than with a genuine wacko, and one that I've been covering on the channel for most of the week, because let's be honest, this is a genuine wacko, or at least the boyfriend of the wacko, good old Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh claiming this week he is going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. If you haven't heard more wacko of a statement than that, I don't know what else to say. So I pulled this funny comic where he comes out saying, we did it. We time traveled. And Justin says, but to what year? He says, let me ask that guy over there. Hey, have the Liberals kept their promise on pharmacare? He says, nope. He says, well, it could be any year, really. I mean, that's gold, Jerry, gold. It's it basically highlights Jagmeet Singh in a nutshell. I mean, this guy's been on news outlets in the last couple weeks talking about how we made the Liberals do all these things. We've made the Liberals introduce birth control and contraceptives for free for people. We've made them bring in a dental plan that, of course, is only essentially for a very small percentage of seniors. It doesn't actually benefit anybody. And it hasn't even been put into like full standing law yet. You know, like the NDP or Jagmeet Singh with his little coalition, he would actually stand to gain more by calling an election than what he thinks he stands to gain by holding the carrot over the stick for the Liberals. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but had he have broken this coalition a year ago and called an election, I don't think his seat would be at risk. I don't think he'd be on his way out the door. When he talks about his pension, I think he still would have been in a very comfortable position to get his pension if he called an election a year ago. If he said, nope, I'm going to stand with the Conservatives, I think Justin's a wacko, let's call an election. For a guy who says he's going to win the next election and be the next Prime Minister of Canada, call an election if you're so sure. You know, this guy, genuine wacko. Genuine wacko. Again, we've heard the House going back and forth this week. Pierre, of course, taking shots at Jagmeet Singh, talking about his brother, again, who has a connection to being a lobbyist for Metro Inc. If you live out west and maybe you're not aware of Metro Inc., they're a direct competitor of Loblaws. And of course, every time Jagmeet Singh wants to talk about rich CEOs, he's always pointing out Loblaws and Galen Weston Jr. Now, I'm not championing Loblaws. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're hands are clean when it comes to price fixing. Of course, we all know years ago they were caught for price fixing on bread, in which point they had to put on a disastrous online website to anybody who wanted to redeem, I believe it was a $50 gift card from Loblaws. It cost them millions. But I thought that that's a good thing because it's going to start to show the system that, hey, when you F around, you find out. Doesn't work that way, it seems. It's crazy. Lucas saying Jimmy barely visits his own riding here in South Burnaby. Folks complaining and he doesn't do a darn thing. Yeah, I've heard that. A lot of these guys, you know, anytime they're kind of like they're kind of like the old crack addict. You know, they're your friends when they need something. Hey man, you got any drugs? Like they'll show up and they'll be your buddy when they need something, but as soon as you give them what they need, they're gone until they need their next fix. That's pretty much the way these politicians behave if they're in the NDP or the Liberals. In fact, what's really funny in my neighborhood, like Calgary is a very non-liberal city. In fact, the last time I checked, we didn't even have a Liberal representative in our city because they can't get a seat. I know there's been a couple people who have run for the Liberals out of media, you know, from past media careers up in like the northeast section of Calgary, but it's not as much of a stronghold as they would like it to be. But the NDP come around quite often. Anytime an election is surging, and they always show up at the door. And I feel bad because a lot of them, it's not necessarily the representative for that riding, but it's volunteers who come to my door for the NDP. And boy, I try to be civil when they come to the door, but I make it very, very firm how I feel about the Spend DP. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I kind of have opinions when it comes to politics, right? Oh, I feel terrible. I feel, the MP for Skyview is a Liberal. Okay, so yeah, so Northeast Calgary. I'm trying to stick with the chat as much as I can tonight. I'm not trying to slow down the streaming, guys. Keep holding out for the hope of 2025 election or dictate your own fate. Work on the tax strike. Yeah. Yep. Let me be perfectly clear, Mr. Speaker. Let's I want to do something a little different tonight with you guys. Something a little more fun. If you guys have any questions, throw them up in the chat. Throw them up in the chat about politics. I always feel bad because we get on these tirades and I don't get a lot of time to really look at the chat until after the stream when I go through things. If there's anything you guys want to talk about tonight, if there's anything you really want to get into, let me know in the chat. Again, there's over 250 people here in the stream, so I won't be able to get to everybody. But if I see a good question pop up and something, you could move to the USA. First off, so I've talked about that, and before you guys fire in your questions, let's talk about that one. Sorry, I'm gonna lift my chair. It's sinking a little. The piston in my chair is completely shot because my 3-year-old likes to jump on the chair. So I've noticed I'm sinking while I'm streaming. I apologize for that. Did you see the latest episode of X-Men 97? I'm not going to talk comics on the stream, but yes, and my God, was it amazing. That show, I'll tell you one thing. If you've ever watched the Marvel movies, and this is only going to be my only geek point of the stream, if you've seen the destruction that has come to the MCU after doing all these independent woman movies and garbage Marvel movies, my God, they should take a lesson from X-Men 97. That cartoon I grew up with in my teens. Love it. Love what they've done with it this year. There's no virtue signaling, or if there is, it's very, very lightly put in there that I'm not noticing it. But amazing show. Somebody saying the US, but let's get on to the USA. USA is just as bad. I see a lot of videos of people saying they're moving to the US. And granted, depending on where you move in the US, places like Texas that don't take income tax, Florida where you pay very little tax, you can essentially make your money go further when you move to the United States. The problem with the United States is it's not Canada. You can't just walk across the border and get in there. You can't just show up and say, I don't like Justin Trudeau. I claim asylum. I want to live here and petition for citizenship. They have very strict rules about becoming an American citizen. You either need to be sponsored for a job. Tammy, I'm going to get to this one. I'm going to keep it. We talk about the police in Calgary removing the Palestinian camp day one. Bravo. We will talk about that. I had a video about that this afternoon, actually, and we're going to get into that as well. I'll get into that after this. But with the United States, you either have to have a visa sponsored to essentially, so like you've got a job and they're going to sponsor you to come over. And that's only on a fixed term. Usually, I think the maximum is about 2 years that you're able to be in the United States on that visa before they review things or have to renew that sponsorship in order for you to stay. And eventually you can apply for American citizenship, I believe, after a certain amount of time, but there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's very expensive. They say for it's an average cost of about $10,000 per family member just for the legal work that has to be done in order to migrate to the United States. Not to mention, if you can't get a visa permit to get into the United States, 9 times out of 10, you have to be related to an American. Directly related to an American or have dual citizenship. That's it. No asylum. No, I'm just walking across Roxham Road. None of that stuff. You've got certain people, which I'm not going to point out because, again, I don't want to make this a drama stream. Like, well, I'm going to pack up and move to the United States. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's not cut and dry. There are people who are moving there, and I'll be honest. At one point, my wife works in oil and gas, and it was around the pandemic days when my wife was offered a transfer to a place just outside of Houston called Katy, Texas, where she was on a 2-year deal, and we were going to relocate to Texas because they had lifted their pandemic rules. And I thought, you know what? I'm sick of my kids being locked in the house. I'm sick of not seeing my family because they didn't like my medical position. So maybe we should just pack up and go. Maybe we should do it. The problem I ran into is what happens when those 2 years is up. If we sell our home and leave, we won't be able to afford to get back in. That was the problem. But much like Alice points out here, I'm Canadian and I'll fight for my country. That's part of what made us stay. This was around the time of the Freedom Convoy where the Freedom Convoy hadn't happened yet when my wife was offered this opportunity. And I said to her, I bleed red. My heart is red and white, just like our flag. I am Canadian through and through. And if I'm to cut and run and leave when things get tough, what does that say about the country that I call my home, the country that is essentially a part of me. What are my values? My grandfather, my Scottish grandfather, fought in the Second World War so that his people could have the rights to freedom. Now, what happened in Canada and what's happening in Canada is not on any extent of what World War II was. But he didn't turn tail and just say, well, I've got a family, I'm going to look after them. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to risk my life. I'm not going to stand up for what I believe in or stand behind my beliefs or the freedom of my country. He said, give me a weapon, get me trained, and get me out there. Because there's right and there's wrong. And I think for the most part, do what works for you. If you want to pack up and move to the US, if you want to snowbird there 6 months out of the year, that's your choice. I'm not faulting anybody who does that. I just think that if you can afford to live in Canada and you're leaving Canada because you don't like winter or you don't want to move somewhere a little more affordable, you can't say that it's because Canada's not affordable to live in. That's the problem I have, is that people cook up that, oh, Canada just is unlivable. You can't make it here. Sure you can. Sure you can. Statistically, over 65% of people who migrated out of BC last year came to Calgary. 63% of British Columbians, not just from Vancouver, British Columbians that left the province reported that they came to Calgary. Why? If it's so unaffordable, why did they come here? I'll tell you why, because a $4 million house in Vancouver is roughly $800,000 in Calgary. There is affordable living. And people say, I see, what about Mexico? Things like that in the chat. Yes, you can move essentially wherever you want to move. I just think that if you're going to sit and say that you love your country, if you're going to say that I believe in freedom, I believe in a democracy that works, not one that's a uniparty, one that's not cooped up by government and buried under scandals. I don't want to, I want to fight against tyranny. I want to fight against this dictatorship of Justin Trudeau, where he puts his boots on our necks every chance he gets, where he steals from us, robs from us. I'm against all those things, but I'm also going to pack up and leave because I don't want to fight it. Well, I'm sorry, that makes you a bit of a chicken shit. And I don't care what people think by calling that out. If you're going to sit and blabber about how terrible a leader of a country is and how oppressed you are and how much you care about Canadians and their rights and how they're going to move along, and then when things get a little tough, but are still manageable, you go, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to pack my bags and leave. Come on. You're not a patriot. You're not a Canadian. You don't value your country enough to dig in when it gets tough. If those are your reasons, I'm not saying you can't move. I'm not saying you can't go to the US. You can't go to Germany. You can't go to wherever. I don't care. The North Pole. You can do whatever's going to work for you and your family. But what I'm saying is that if you're holding political aspects to it, saying, well, I hate all this stuff that's going on and I want to defend my country, but I'm going to also leave when it gets tough. No, come on. Come on. If everybody leaves, that's when we give everything up. That's when they win, right? That's what Justin Trudeau wants. Why do you think they've made life so difficult? They want everybody to leave. They want people to say, let's get out of here. I'll tell you the solution to the problem. Right now in Calgary, it is a seller's market with no homes being built. Plenty of photo op opportunities saying that government funded homes are being built, but nothing's getting actually built. But with no homes available, it's a seller's market. You could essentially, my wife and I have almost doubled our investment in our home, and we've only been in the house since 2015. That's insane. 9 years, and we've doubled our investment. Where do you see those kind of returns? I mean, there's tons of times where my wife says, we could sell the house and move somewhere more affordable and have a smaller mortgage. Things could be a lot easier for our children. Of course they could be. But I'm running for city council because I love Calgary. Even if it's tough, even if the crime's going up, even if things are hard, if property taxes are going up, if food's gone up, gas has gone up, I'm staying because I love my city, and I'm prepared to fight for it. I'm prepared to do something about it, not do nothing. And I see it all the time in the comments. People say, oh, you're just a guy in the basement making videos. No, I'm putting my name on the line. I'm exposing my family. I'm exposing their identity and running for office. I'm making our family very vulnerable to run for civic office because I want change, and because the corrupt politicians that are currently running in the system can't be depended upon to fix the problems. We need common sense. And that is definitely lacking in our city and just about every other city in this country. And this is what we need more of, is people who have said, this country is screwed as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Not people who say, well, it got a little hard, I'm going to pack up and leave. It's disrespectful to say you care about Canada if you're going to turn tail as soon as it gets hard. You don't care about Canada. You care about whatever's on your mind. You can care about your family. You can care about what's best for them. You can care about anything. I just think it's pathetic if you're going to tout that you love your country, but you're going to pack up and leave when things get tough. Make a change. Be the change. I keep saying, especially in Calgary, we need more people in the next civic election, citizens running for council positions. If you're in Calgary and if you have had enough, get your name in to run. Reach out to me. Reach out to me at unacceptablefringeyt@gmail.com. Tell me you want to run for a certain ward as a counselor. I will help get you connected. I will help get you. We need like-minded people running for city council so that every time we have a good idea, we're not voted down by a bunch of left-leaning libtards who don't want us to move and benefit from business, from evolution in business, from oil and gas. The only way to get rid of these corrupt entities is to get up and do something about it. If we sit on our tails and complain on the internet all day, nothing's going to get done. They'll just continue to do what they do until they bury us. It's a shame. You mean left-wing wacko? Yes. Yes. Unacceptable Fringe, why do you think the chair in committee was wearing a mask the other day? Because they're wacko. They're wacko. 3/4 of city council are corrupt as hell. 2 of them sit on the board for NMAX, which is the electric company, which has a monopoly in this province. That's a huge conflict of interest. If I'm the mayor, if I win that chair, I'm going to alter that bylaw or that law that states that you're allowed to sit on that board and on city council. You got to pick. You either sit on city council or you go back to your board. You can't do both. Keep in mind, if you're a board member, you're pulling payment. You're getting paid for 2 jobs. There are so many corrupt councillors in Calgary. There's so many corrupt councillors in every city. Look at Edmonton and Mayor Sohi. He's involved in a huge scandal right now by giving contracts out to his brother's trucking company. I still haven't covered that on the channel. I'll tell you right now, what you need to do, in Calgary, and what I'm going to do if I get the mayor's chair, is lower business tax down to almost nothing, to tell businesses, you can open here. We want you to be here. We want you to thrive. Our downtown is nearly barren. Take up office space. Get your products out. I will charge you less tax, if any at all, to be here. Work here. Thrive here. City of opportunity. Tell oil and gas companies, come back, please. Open your offices here. We're open for business. That's how we grow as a city. That's how we get families to move here. That's how we get people interested and say, man, that's somewhere I want to live. Somewhere where we're not putting our boots on their necks and saying, look, we'll tax for the things that we need, the roads, the security, the firefighters, the the city services that aren't being foolishly wasted. Yeah, we need all of those things. But when it comes to studies and all these NGOs that take money to sit on their asses and do nothing, and multi-million dollar art projects and stuff, no, stuff all that stuff. Get it out of here. There's better ways to do things and be more effective with money. I'm not going to get into the whole mayor run because I don't want to overrun the stream with that. But that's why we need more like-minded people running in councillor positions in Calgary in the next election next year. And you don't have to register. You can't register until January 1st of next year, of 2025. So again, if anybody in Calgary is like-minded and has any aspiration and political background that they want to run as a councillor in this town, email me again, unacceptablefringeyt@gmail.com. Tell me you're interested. Leave me some information, or at least the email address I can contact you at. I will help get you connected if you're serious about running as a councillor in this city. Again, we will fix this town by coming together instead of sitting on our asses and bitching about it all day on the internet. We will show the world change can be made if the people are willing to stand up. You know, people talk about, well, what are we supposed to do? Have a revolution? Do we storm the gates? Do we go back to the old days of like the French Revolution where we overthrow the government? This is how we overthrow the government. There's power in numbers. If we all move in one big group, we can get even a couple of people that are like-minded in council. Even if I lose that race and we get a couple of like-minded people in council, more things that benefit the city will get passed. And people in Calgary will start to see that and start to say, hey, we need to get more of these guys in here. Before you know it, we've overthrown the system. That's why I always say voting matters so much. And people go, it's not going to do anything. Not like that, it's not. I've sunken in my chair again. I apologize. I got to get a new chair. I'm going to get a new chair going on. I apologize, guys. My kids have destroyed this one. Well, let's move on to what happened in Calgary with the Trantifa. It wasn't trans. It was the Palestine protest. I don't even want to say Palestine protesters because we all know that it's not Palestine protesters. It's bad actors. It's paid shills. They say that they're students, yet there's people there that are in their 50s, 60s, protesting and putting up tents on the university grounds. It's my butt destroyed my chair. I wish that was the case because you know what? It would push me to go to the gym a lot more often. I've really been working on things for the last couple months. I've been doing spin 7 days a week. I'm actually growing my hair out. I don't know if you guys can see it. A lot of people thought I was bald. I'm growing my hair out. I'm making a few changes because if I'm going to run for mayor, I got to look the part. So, but I digress. I really hate having young kids around. I love my kids, but I hate having young kids around because everything gets destroyed. But let's move on. So the Soros protest. Yes. Could a brainwashed protester be considered a Chinese plant? Absolutely, especially the TikTok aspect of it. It's Janice, $5 super chat for the chair's sake. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Listen, I'm gonna get a new chair. I was looking at this one that's almost like a recliner. There's a YouTuber named RGT85 who covers a lot of gaming stuff that I watch. I'm a friend of his. I've been talking to him for years outside of his videos. He's got this one that's kind of like a recliner / office chair that I want to get my hands on. So maybe by next week I'll have that worked out. But or at least I'll have to tilt my camera down because I'm sinking more and more, and you guys can see me, but you can see Donkey Kong Jr. running in the background. So I guess that's not so terrible, is it? Thank you again, Janice, for the $5 super chat. That's awesome. I appreciate that. With what's happening at the UFC, we've seen, again, I'm going to kind of repeat the video that I launched today. And if you haven't checked it out, please go and check it out. Those videos need support. Again, it's not a matter of, I'm begging for the views. I want to get the information out there. And the only way to get it out there is thumbs up and comments. So please leave that in there. Now, I made a very crucial mistake when I put that video out. I said that it was Gen X, that were typical Gen X lazy people who didn't want to do things. I meant Gen Z. I would hope that people were smart enough to catch that he must have slipped, but there were a lot of people in the comments going, dude, Gen X? Hell no, they're too old to be there. And I'm like, yeah, I meant Gen Z. Like, the thing about these Gen Z kids is they've never had to work. They've never had to earn anything. I always hear that age group talking to their parents, I get me a down payment. Like, they're not talking about how hard it is to save. They're just saying, well, you have a house with a ton of equity. Why can't you just give me a down payment to buy a property? Why can't you just give me a car? Why can't you just pay my university tuition? Do you have any idea how hard it is out there? Yes. As parents, we've done our duty. We've done our due diligence. We've bought a house. We've bought cars. We've paid them off. We've done our time. It's time for you to be putting on the big boy pants and doing it yourself. That's the reason typically that you go to universities. I got in an argument with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago who said universities are great places for people to go and debate each other and have discourse, and said that it's not really for technical or career training, and said if you want one of those, you should be going to a trade school. And I said, so you're telling me that thousands and thousands of dollars in debt is worth it just to go philosophize with each other all year long and sit on your ass? I'm sorry, unless you're going to be a lawyer or a teacher or something that you're going to university for, the universities are a hoax. They're a scam. You're supposed to be getting educated. And now you've got people going to these universities, popping up their tents, saying that they're protesting for Palestine. They're just looking to bitch and complain about something. They have no idea what's going on in Palestine. In fact, the video clip I showed, which again, I have another video coming out this weekend with David Menzies showing these self-entitled brats who have fenced off the University of Toronto that are refusing to let a Jewish man, a Jewish professor, cross the grounds to get to his class, saying, we're indigenous. We've claimed the land as indigenous. You can't come through here. Give me a break. David Menzies says, do you have your card? And immediately you see the girl's eyes go wide and she's like, yeah, shove it up your white ass, because she's pissed off. He called them out on their nonsense. They don't know what they're protesting. They don't know what they're arguing about. They just want to throw slurs about white people at the news and say that it's all the white man's fault. Feel your white guilt, your white shame. I hate bringing skin color into things. I got to adjust this chair. I feel like I'm sitting at the kids' table. I'm sorry. And Brad's saying here they'll protest whatever's next. And I'll be honest, I went through that video this afternoon. I went through the comments. There were a lot of people who thought that I was messing around about Palestine. I'm going to tell you right now, the whole discussion here, what I'm talking about here, has nothing to do with Israel or Palestine. And I've said a million times over, I'm not getting involved in that at all. I don't waste my time in forever wars. I'm sorry. I'm worried about Canada. Canada has nothing to do with what's going on in Israel, Palestine. In fact, Justin Trudeau is talking about bringing 1 million Palestinians into Canada as refugees over the next year or something. 1 million. Where are we going to put them? Keep in mind, these are unvetted people who are just going to waltz right into the country, assault people, fill the streets with flags, pray in the middle of roads and say that you're an infidel, that you're white, you're terrible. That's the problem I have with it. And I've talked about this to great extent. I don't care if you come here from America, if you come here from the UK, Germany, Russia, Ukraine, Japan, or even Israel or Palestine. If you move to Canada for a better life, you're here to be a Canadian. You got to adopt my values. You can be religious. You can believe whatever you want in your religious group. Your religious beliefs are your choice. But when it comes to assimilating with our lifestyle, when it comes to assimilating to our traditions and our way of life, and essentially what should be a first world country, but isn't by Justin Trudeau standards, you're to learn to get along with everybody else. And people always say, well, it's because white people colonized Canada and took it from the indigenous. How many reparations have we made over the years? Hundreds of years. We pay billions. And this isn't about race. I don't have a racist bone in my body. It's about right and wrong. It's about what makes sense. And I even said in that video, there's a lot of things we don't have for Indigenous folks that I'm pissed about. Justin Trudeau virtue signals to them left, right, and center. Where's their clean drinking water? Where's better policies for domestically abused women on reserves and children? Where's better policing? Where's better resources for them to grow so that they don't have to be dependent on government money? That's essentially what Justin Trudeau's trying to turn Canada into, is one big reservation. Here's your check, do as we say, keep to yourself, and let the government take control of it. Look how well that's working out for the Indigenous. We have a reserve near our home, and they're in the black because they have a casino. They get paid a portion of profits from the businesses that operate on their land. I don't agree with a lot of things that go on with the chiefs and the band leaders that keep all the money that go in. They deny their people the money. So the people that are suffering, talk to the band leaders. I don't want to get into the politics of that because it's very drawn up in a lot of things, but the band leaders are corrupt. The band leaders are just as bad as government. The chiefs, they keep all the goddamn money and they don't give it to the people that need it. And then every time people come out, they go, look at how victimized these Indigenous folks are. And it's because of white people and colonization. The British and the French colonized Canada. I'm Canadian. I was born here. I'm not paying for their mistakes from hundreds of years ago. My tax dollars pay for reconciliation. I don't know if that comes across as racist to say it like that. I'm trying to spit hard facts. I'm not going to feel guilty because I was born white, just as an Indigenous person shouldn't feel guilty because they're born Indigenous, or a black person should feel guilt because they were born black. I couldn't control how I was born. So why do I have to feel guilt for it? I'm proud of who I am as a person. My skin color has nothing to do with it. I think it's just a big load of bullshit. These are wedge issues that get brought up between racial superpowers, we'll say, that use these to get their way. Look at BLM. People talk about BLM all the time. That was a scam. Look at the founders of BLM that were audited because they took millions of dollars and bought a mansion and a whole bunch of luxury items instead of, giving back to their community. It was all a scam. Those are the people that are driving the wedge issues to make it all about skin color. If anybody ever says it's because you're white or it's because you're brown or it's because you're, Japanese, I don't care what it is. They're doing that because it's an easy out, because it's an easy argument. They don't want to bring discourse to a problem. They don't want to talk about solutions. God, what a tirade we're going on. I haven't even got to what happened at the U of C. Anyways, all this nonsense going on at the U of T with police not intervening. They're allowing these tents to be there. They're allowing these false bad actors to speak for Palestinians. Again, if I was Palestinian, I'd be offended by a bunch of white people wearing their scarves on their heads and saying that they sit with Palestine. They don't know a damn thing about Palestine. In fact, when you see like groups like Queers for Palestine, Palestinians would stone you to death if you talked about gay rights in Palestine. They don't want any of that stuff. They don't believe in that because of their religion. They don't approve of it. Like, that's what I'm saying. These people are clueless as to what they're even protesting. They just want to go out and complain about something for the sake of complaining. It's ridiculous. So the police won't intervene in Toronto. Doug Ford has come out and said he's had enough. In fact, again, I got a video coming out about that. I don't want to get too much into it because, I gotta pay the bills, guys. Go and watch the video this weekend. But when we talk about what happened in Calgary, go watch this afternoon's video. The police on day one moved in and said, get the hell out of here. They went in their riot gear. And I was happy to see it. And the reason I was happy to see it is because of the treatment that the Freedom Convoy got. I've been watching these Palestinian protests unravel over the last couple of months. Somebody said, oh, there's no violence at these protests. Are you kidding me? I've showed a video clip multiple times on multiple videos of guys at Palestinian protests telling the cops, I'll put you 6 feet deep if you come near me, if you try to police me. They're threatening the lives of people. They're telling other people to get out. How is that not threatening? Give me a break. It's good to see the police saying we're going to crush all forms of protest that get out of control. I don't agree with what they did at the Freedom Convoy. Don't think that that's me saying it, but my biggest gripe was always look what they did to Canadian citizens at the Freedom Convoy. They smashed truck windows, they froze bank accounts, they locked up protesters, they locked up Tamara Leach, they threw her ass in jail in solitary confinement for multiple weeks over mischief charges. Yet these guys who come here unvetted can march my streets, they can light flags on fire, they can brandish their sabers and their weapons because it's a religious exemption, they can preach about Khalistani governments, they can preach about Palestine, they can threaten people, they can disrupt traffic, they can block bridges, and the police won't arrest them. They'll give them Tim Hortons and say, hey, we're being the middlemen here because we think it's great what you guys are doing, blocking traffic. But the Freedom Convoy does it and gets arrested. They get the Emergency Act. No, I was happy as a pig in slop to see Calgary Police stand up and say, nah, especially with a virtue signaling mayor like Jody Gondek. I'm shocked it happened in Calgary. So while people say how corrupt the police are, I don't disagree. But think about that for a second. We have a virtue signaling mayor who props up everything related to Justin Trudeau. And somehow the police still showed up on the university campus and yanked these tents off the property and pushed back everybody loitering around the grounds saying that they were protesting for Palestine. Sorry, I'm trying to read some of the comments here, guys. Coots 4 CB saying Coots 4 were in jail for over 500 days. Yeah. And they could be in jail for a lot longer. Well, 3 of them. I've got a really good video coming out about Tamara Leach and Chris Barber tomorrow, which I would really encourage you guys to go and watch. Some new updates coming out about that. One update I actually want to give you guys while we have such a large audience in here. And again, thank you to everybody who's in here tonight. Make sure to hit the like button. Help get us out there in the algorithm. Many of you contributed and donated to my niece, Faye, who has cancer through their GoFundMe. And again, I'm very, very grateful to everybody who did, but I thought I'd give you guys an update since we got one yesterday. Faye had gone for her first, I guess you could call it like a scan after her chemo. They were hoping for her to be in remission. She is not in remission, although the chemo is doing its job very, very well. So they don't have to resort yet to things like bone marrow transplants or, invasive surgeries. So we're very grateful for that. They think that more aggressive chemo is going to help clear this up over time. Unfortunately, Faye has lost her hair, and she was sad at first, but people have given her wigs, but now she rocks it. I've been told by her mom, she's wearing beanies everywhere. She's happy about it. She's not self-conscious, which is great for an 8-year-old little girl that, she's not carrying that over. So she's doing better. She's starting to take steroids and get a little more weight back on her body. So she's really progressing well. And I really wanted to give everybody an update because, guys, we raised almost $12,000 in less than 24 hours for the family to essentially get their expenses under control. And a lot of people say, well, I've had chemo and nobody gave me money and that, it doesn't cost money for chemo. No, it doesn't. But when you have a family, when you have kids, keep in mind, this isn't this family's only child. They're trading off between their kids. They don't even live in Calgary. They have to drive back and forth to the Calgary Children's Hospital out of town multiple times a day, all while still going to work, while still trying to make a living, taking time off of work to be at appointments, all these things that I know I don't have to explain. And people have been very generous to say, please don't explain. You don't have to. I get all that, but I still like to inform people that this wasn't arranged by myself. the family didn't arrange this GoFundMe. A friend of the family set it up because they were concerned about the costs. And Faye's father, my friend French, he told me flat out when this community came through for them, it was the first time since she was diagnosed that he could breathe, that he felt like I'm okay to give some time to this, to go through the paces, go through the motions. So thank you again to everybody who contributed to that. And again, at some point, I'm going to have Faye's parents on the show to give a more concise update as to what's happening, because they really want to thank everybody from the bottom of their hearts for their generosity, for their kind words, for their support. Very, very, very grateful. So thank you again to everybody. And there's a little update for you. Something I didn't mention earlier, which I'm going to encourage. I never really encourage bad behavior on the platform. Are you guys aware of Benjamin Dichter? Do you guys know BJ Dichter? Or I call him BJ Dickhead. He's got a book called Honking for Semen. I mean, Honking for Freedom out. And when I was talking about Rex Murphy, and I meant to talk about when people are shilling for clicks and views. He put out his tweet. Maybe I should show it. Maybe instead of complaining, I should show it. He put out a tweet in regards to Rex Murphy's passing. And instead of saying how, like this is what I was talking about when it comes to people trying to get their pockets lined or get things moving. BJ Dichter promoted his book on the death of Rex Murphy to try and make some money. Where is it here? Chris Barber tweeted it out. I would encourage anybody who has the ability to go over to Amazon and leave a review. I know that it's not a verified review. This is a guy who really just wants to make money off of people. I'll always remember our long conversation during the Freedom Convoy. Very nice man and inspirational thinker. RIP. By the way, go buy my book. This is, BJ Grifter. Look at this piece of shit. This complete piece of shit. He loves it, by the way, when we talk about him on any YouTube show. And I haven't talked about him for over a year simply because he capitalizes off of negative views. But this is disgusting. People should be review bombing his book on Amazon. I think he sold like 4 copies or something. But even Chris Barber, Canada lost a legend yesterday, and this slime bag is promoting his stupid book. Maybe ask if you can set a table up at his funeral to sell some books. Just how low can you go, BJ Grifter? Absolutely true. Again, I don't like trying to encourage bad behavior on a stream. I don't like telling people, go and make their life miserable. But I know you can leave reviews on Amazon and stuff like that. That aren't verified purchases, but I would say maybe some nasty words about how stand-up-ish this person is. BJ Grifter, of course, always looking to make his money. The guy promotes his book 17 times in a 30-minute live stream. Like, he's the textbook definition of a grifter. And now he's the textbook definition of a scumbag. Jesus. Sorry for the blasphemy. I just get so wrapped up in this stuff. And again, like I said on the stream, I spoke to Rex Murphy one time over a phone call. Amazing man. I'm sad he's gone, but we moved on from it. And I'm not putting out a video to get money off of clicks. This jackass trying to get book sales. Give me a break. What piece of crap. Anyway, sorry for the blasphemy. I'm not an overly religious man, but I do respect those who are religious. I shouldn't be using those words. I again, sometimes it slips. So, Brad, I would not disrespect somebody who just passed away. Yeah. It's terrible. Terrible. I call that grifter a turd polisher. You know what? I'm willing to bet. I mean, people have been saying he's a Fed for a long time. I don't know. I there's a lot of things about BJ we've talked. I don't. Again, I don't want to talk about him too much because again, he loves this shit. He loves it when people bring him up in live streams because it gives him clout. I'm not going to talk about him again. Who passed away? Rex Murphy, National Post, Canadian icon, 77, passed away of cancer. It's I hate people who try to capitalize on the death of another. It's terrible. Again, I won't bring him up again. We're not going to give him any more clout. Just yeah, if you have his book, my suggestion is throw it in the trash. If you know anybody else who has a copy of Honking for Seamen, tell them to throw it out. Tell them what kind of a person BJ Dichter really is, and yeah, boycott that man's stuff like the plague. It's that's the only time you'll see real drama on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. When people try to capitalize on the death of another scumbag seller of the week. There's BJ Grifter. It's yeah, terrible. What else do we have to talk about this week? I mean, we kind of covered the bases with Wackos. We talked about Jagmeet Singh. We talked about Palestine. We've talked about a lot of things. Do you guys have any other questions? Let's entertain the chat for a little bit before we wrap up the stream. I usually like to end on a high note, but again, we're missing out on next week's stream. Again, for anybody who came into the stream late, next Friday being a long weekend, I'm actually in Manitoba. Excuse me. I've been asked to speak at an event that's also a bit of a high school reunion, and I'll be there doing that. So I'm going to be in Winnipeg next weekend. I don't know, maybe for anybody who's in Winnipeg, if people want their books signed or anything like that, or a meet and greet, let me know. I'm probably going to be somewhere Friday night next week. Throw it in the chat if you want me to post about where I'm going to be. Maybe we can do some kind of meetup if you're in the Winnipeg area. But I will be there, so I won't be able to do a live stream. I can't take all my equipment with me on the plane, especially since I'm only going to be there for like 2 days. But and a lot of people are going to be gone for the long weekend. Again, I thought about doing a live stream on Monday to make up for it, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be around for that. So Joe has mentioned Danielle Smith's proposed municipal reforms. Yes, I'm going to actually get into that in a video. So I don't want to talk too much about it tonight. Again, why is Danielle talking of letting Calgary and Edmonton talk about being 15-minute cities? So Danielle doesn't have control over that. There's a lot of people who think that Danielle Smith has some kind of divine control. She doesn't. Part of the problem in politics, and something that we'll get into. Tammy's saying, can we talk about 3 scandals this week? So I want to get into those, but again, I've got videos on those, and I'd be going for another hour if we were to talk about those things. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Yes, the $8 billion fund, all that stuff's coming this weekend, folks. Keep your eyes peeled. Please support the content. Again, YouTube is literally out to get me. Again, if you missed my interview with the quartering, go check it out. It dropped this morning. We got less than 2,000 views for the whole day on that video for a 30,000 subscriber channel. Again, we talk a lot about YouTube. We talk about suppression. If you guys need a definition of suppression, look no further than the shadow ban that came from that video. That was sad. That was horrible. Again, I don't like bringing up business, but it's just, I find it funny that a video talking about suppression got suppressed. Right? It literally proved my point. That's more what I think is funny about it. When we talk about, what were we talking about before the scandals now? Oh, Danielle in the 15-minute cities. So when I had Danielle Smith on the channel a couple months ago, back in the fall, God, it's more than a couple months ago at this point now. It feels like a couple months ago. We had a good conversation before we got into the actual interview. And, you know, I told her before we got into even though I mentioned it during the interview, I never felt that my vote has gone further than when I voted for her. I thought she was doing a fantastic job. I will vote for her again in the next election. And, you know, I said, I'm really proud of everything you've done for this province, because you're one of the few politicians that has not only stuck behind their word and their promises, but you've actually delivered on top of that. And you're not even into your halfway point of being premier of the province on your mandate. So kudos. And she said, well, I'm surprised to hear that you like me. She says, a lot of people don't. And that's the problem in politics, is that anytime you do anything, you're always going to have your critics. You're going to have people on both sides of the fence. There's a decorum that goes on between politicians that it's assumed that because she's the premier of the province, that she can just waltz in and say, you can't do that, Calgary. You can't do that, Edmonton. But the problem is, Danielle Smith has certain rights when it comes to what she can and can't do, what she can and can't say. Keep in mind, a lot of these people have lawyers that if you say something negative, they come after you. They want to make your life miserable. You get in all these defamation suits, you get into all these problems where look at what happened to Stephen Guilbeault and Ezra Levant just for blocking him on Twitter. Of course, we all know how that ended with him using taxpayer-funded money to pay Ezra Levant. I would question if Ezra cashed the check, but I digress. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in politics, and there's a lot that I'm learning moving into my run for mayor of things you can and can't say. A lot of people, like whenever things get announced in Alberta Health Services, for example, people go to Danielle Smith and say, why are you agreeing with, or why are you putting through policy for Alberta Health Services? They're a separate entity. Danielle Smith, again, has no control over what Alberta Health Services does. She does to an extent in terms of budget. She does in terms of certain arrangements that happen between AHS and Alberta. But when it comes to AHS's policies, that's all run between Alberta Health Services and their unions, QP, who, by the way, also has ties to Rachel Notley. Somebody says, I don't like Danielle Smith's fantasizing about hydrogen energy infrastructure and high-speed rails. That's fine. But you know what I'm going to give her credit for? She's at least talking about investing in technologies other than saying pay carbon tax and it's going to fix the environment. So I understand from a price tag point of view, people say this is a waste of time. And that's okay. You're allowed to say those things. You're allowed to have those views. I'm not going to poo-poo anybody who has those views. But at least she's talking about things that could potentially make life better for people other than, just pay your carbon tax. Right? I'm not saying she's right with it. I'm just saying I'm willing to play devil's advocate a little bit when it comes to that stuff. Again, try and make some change rather than just, taking over. Smith is best premier in Canada. Scott Moe, other second, Blaine Higgs in New Brunswick. Yeah, they're all doing great jobs. They're all starting to speak up more. Milky saying nuclear energy is a good thing. Yeah, Pierre Poilievre has mentioned that he wants to get more into nuclear. And again, I think that could be very beneficial for Canadians. It's a lot safer than it used to be. They've made very large advancements. Could everyone here could you ask everyone here to email their MPs about the policies that the Liberal government is pushing? So yes, you should always be emailing your MPs. You should always be, again, forgive me, I'm a little verklempt. There's an old SNL joke for anybody who watched SNL in the 90s. Our job as citizens, and I say this every time I get flack for posting a video criticizing Pierre, we need to hold their feet to the fire. Our job should be making their lives a living hell. Their inboxes should be flooded. Even if you're sending a cut and paste email every single day of the year, you should be doing that to your MPs until you get a response. You should be on their tail constantly telling them, if you want my vote, when you come around to my neighborhood in the next election asking for my vote, if you're not going to answer my emails, I'm not going to vote for you. What the hell are you doing? What's going on? I've said it a million times that when I had Garnet Jennings on this channel, I didn't like that I asked them, why aren't we seeing justice with these inquiries? Why aren't we seeing any arrests being made? Why aren't we seeing those like GC Strategies, Dalian, any of these companies that are screwing around with our money facing responsibility for what they did? And he says, well, we're just not in the business of arresting people and stuff. It's not going to happen. So what's the point? Well, we have to get to the bottom of it. Why? So we expose them? So what? Where's our money? I want my money back. I don't know about you guys. I work damn hard for the money I get. I want it back. I'll tell you right now, whenever I file my income tax, the government comes to me and says, money, give me money. Where's my money? And anytime I owe the government money, they're so quick to get on my ass and tell me that I got to pay them. But if the government owes me money, boy, they sure take their sweet time. Boy, they beat around the bush. They try to find every way in the world to claw it back because they feel it belongs to them. That's the problem I have with this whole damn inquiry. We talk about $1 billion slush funds, $8 billion slush funds, Arrive scam, We Charity Group. What was the airline? SNC Lavalin. Like, the list goes on. How much of my tax? Half of everything you make goes to the goddamn government. Again, sorry for the blasphemy. God, that's slipping a lot today. I apologize. I shouldn't, but it goes to the government. Half of what you make. I used to think it was insane when I heard people that give half of their income to their church. Half of your income goes to the government. So if you make $100,000 a year, you actually make 50. And if you work any overtime, you're paying more. I've heard, I told you guys, it was either last week or the week before, I had my hot tub technician to the house, and he was telling me that he took the first raise he'd ever taken in 15 years for his company because of inflation, because he couldn't pay his bills. And his business has been doing very well. So he says, I gave myself an extra dividend. I took a salary of $6,000 more than I typically take. And he says, and I've been taking the same salary since 2010. So he says, I haven't given myself a raise in 14 years. I took an extra $6,000 to cover my expenses for the increase in inflation. He says, I owed $8,000 more in tax this year than I did the last year because he bumped himself into another tax bracket with $6,000 extra dollars. That's ridiculous that Canadians are being punished for making better living. And it's not like a living where they get to put their feet up and wear, plush robes and sit on golden benches, golden couches and relax and go to day spas like Chrystia Freeland all day. These are Canadians just trying to scrape by, and they're being punished for it. He told me he's taking more cash jobs now because he doesn't want to give any money to the government. Anytime you go to a comic convention and you see these celebrities who take signatures and they charge you for a signature or they charge you for selfies, they charge you for photo ops, it's always cash. Why do you think that is? They don't want to give any of that money to the government. They've been there, done that. They're sick of it. They know how it works. Canadians should do the same thing. I'm telling you, we need to start building networks where if you need a licensed contractor, where some guys will start going to sites saying, look, I'll work under the table because I'm not paying tax. If you want to pay me cash, I'll do this job for so much less. My hot tub guy comes to the house now and says the same thing. I'm not going to say his name or his company because if the government's watching this, I don't want him to get in trouble. But he'll come to the house and tell me these repairs are going to cost you $300. If you want to pay me cash, it's $175. Okay. Right? Wouldn't it be so much beneficial if we could get through inflation by coming up with an exchange network between business owners to start saying, if you want to pay me cash, not only does that help us, but it helps keep cash alive because then we don't want to think about digital systems, right? We don't want to think about digital currency. That's a good idea, Fringe, as well, because it can not only help us pay off our deficits. Pierre does a massive spending on it. Yeah. Well, again, if businesses were saying that technically they were recording less profits that way, they're paying less taxes too because they've been taking everything in cash, right? Don't let you have to find. I did a video about Kevin O'Leary earlier this week, good old Mr. Wonderful, and I said, say what you want about his business practices. We all know that he's corrupt. He's hidden money. He's a businessman. They all do it. But he knows the system. And he says on Shark Tank all the time, you work so hard for your money, you got to start making your money work for you. And I have the same conversation with my accountant every single year when he says, what is it you need me to do? I tell him, I need you to take a microscope and shove it up Justin Trudeau's ass and pull out every penny you can find. That's your job. That's what we need to start doing as citizens. God, maybe we should try and start something like that. Wouldn't that be great? I know plumbers that I follow or that follow me on social media. I know a lot of contractors. Maybe if we start running some services or start encouraging people to run services, to put out ads to say can take cash. Doesn't have to say they're not going to report it or they're not going to do anything, vile or anything else. Just offering these services can take cash. A lot of stuff that could get done for people. Imagine if you could hire a painter for a third of the price and they would be happy to take the work simply because they're not being taxed. That's why they want digital. Yeah. Well, yeah, because they can control more. Sign of the times is when we give our assistance to each other, no cash or credit transfer. Each has an ability. Well, it's like a co-op at that point, right? O'Leary said we were run by complete idiots and nailed it. Yeah. And I know that video was old news. A lot of people are saying, this is old. Yeah, but I still wanted to get it out there. Anytime somebody's taking a jab at Trudeau, I like putting it out there for you guys. Like, I don't like showing negative all the time. Sometimes there's got to be some positive. And if somebody's going to stomp all over Trudeau's ego, even if it's old news, I'm happy to put it out there for you guys. If everyone cut their credit cards, we'd be better off. It's funny you say that. I had a video out on one of my other channels, Surviving Canada, about credit card debt, how to get out of credit card debt quickly, prioritize your debt in order to have more money available in your family or your household. You should go check out that video on Surviving Canada. Again, great content. I haven't had a chance to get a lot of content up there this week. It's been insane in my household. There was an entire day this week where my wife and I were running our kids to different specialist appointments, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments. We had to adjust my daughter's braces. My wife had to get to an appointment all in the span of one day. We literally had enough time from each appointment just to get to the next one. So I've been falling a little bit behind on the content, folks. But I also say, look, those channels are just getting started, so I wasn't too worried about it. I will try to have some content on both Missing Context and Surviving Canada, my two other channels. Excuse me, if you haven't checked them out yet, please go and check them out. You can find them. Again, I have a video from about 2 weeks ago where I've left a link to those channels. I don't have a link in here, but boy, that's terrible of me, isn't it? But yeah, we need to start looking after each other. We got to start looking after each other. That's the only way we get out of this mess. Canadian household debt is $3 trillion. Worst on earth, by Luke Markamania. He's fantastic. Yeah. Who's it? Dave Ramsey? I like him too. I pay a lot of attention to finance. I'm not the smartest guy or what is it? Smash Mouth says I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But again, I've told people in the videos, and part of the reason I started that channel, I'm not there to preach to people that I'm so great or fabulous. But when people look behind me and they see the arcades, they see the collectibles that I keep and everything that's done, I tell people all the time, I have zero debt. No debt. The only debt that I carry is my mortgage. That's it. Everything else is paid for. I do everything in cash if I can. All of this stuff was bought with cash. And that was the purpose of that channel, was to show people it's not that difficult to do. I'm 44 years old. I just turned 44. I didn't have a credit card until 9 years ago. That was my first credit card. I got my first credit card in my mid-30s. Up until then, I did everything cash because I didn't want to spend money I didn't have. And I'm very disciplined with my credit. And that's one of the things I want to teach people not again as a flex to say I've done it better than everybody, but more of I've been doing it so long, it's not out of reach for people who say I can't do that. I couldn't live like that. Everybody can. It's very simple actually to live off cash versus credit. So again, I'm hoping to grow that channel. I'm hoping to get some more content out for you guys. But on that note, ladies and gents, I do have family visiting this weekend from out of town. So I'm going to start to wrap up the stream. Again, I wanted to try and keep it going as long as I could tonight. Again, I apologize that next week it's going to be missing with no stream. Again, just a reminder, no stream next Friday. But it's also, again, like I said, long weekend. So I don't feel too bad because guys, get outside, enjoy that weather, try and get some air breathed in, touch grass. It's always good to get off the internet once in a while, but make sure you come back to watch the videos because if I can't keep the lights on, boy, things are going to get scary around here. But I hope you guys have a great Mother's Day this weekend. Joe just mentioned it here in the chat. If you guys haven't taken your kids out yet to get something for their mother, if you haven't got anything for your mother, make sure to get out, get that done. I, for one, am looking forward to making up Mother's Day, visiting my mother's graveside this upcoming Friday. That's what I'm going to be doing instead of streaming. And again, if anybody in Winnipeg, I will be looking back at the chat after. If anybody in Winnipeg wants me to tweet out on the community where I'm going to be next Friday night in Winnipeg, if people want to come to a meet and greet, let me know in the chat, throw that up. I'll throw that out there for you guys, even if you want to leave it in the comments after the stream. If there's enough demand for it, then so be it. I'm always happy to meet up with people whenever I'm out of town, especially for those who can't get out west to an event that I'm at. And yeah, what a great Friday, guys. If there's one thing I love, it's this community. Again, I say it in every video. I look so forward to hearing everything you guys have to say, everything you guys bring to this channel. Unacceptable Fringe would not exist without this community. You guys are Unacceptable Fringe. I'm just the guy with the voice telling you what I think, and you guys are gracing me by giving me the opportunity to listen to what somebody like me has to say. And as cringe as that sounds, that's just reality, ladies and gentlemen. I never take advantage of this community. I simply appreciate everything each and every one of you does. People praise all the time. Keep up the work. Keep up what you're doing. You guys keep it up. You guys are the ones keeping this going. So kudos to each and every one of you. Relax a little this weekend. Enjoy. Come back all weekend long for the content streaming here on the channel. Watch the videos, please. If you leave comments, thumbs up. It helps. It helps get it out there. Your views are so critical, especially right now. YouTube has chopped my ability to reach people by about 75%. It's got to the point where there's days I say, why do I bother? But you know what? Everybody sitting in this stream, you guys are the reason I bother. You guys are the reason we keep going, and I'm not going anywhere. So come on back this weekend. Check out the content. You guys have yourselves a good one. Get outside. Yes, I will mention Gen X instead of or Gen Z instead of Gen X. I won't slip up with that again. Again, my apologies in that earlier video, guys. Gen Z is just terrible. Have yourselves a good one, guys. Stay safe. Look after each other. You guys matter, and I see you. And thank you again for hanging out with little old me tonight. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care. We'll talk again soon.